every year, it's the same story. In fact, each year, things are only getting worse. From October, when the winter sets in, till late February, as the summer is fast approaching, the news is all about toxic fumes in the national capital. Something as simple as breathing becomes a luxury. But somehow, we adjust to the new normal. We wear masks where we go out and check for AQI levels before stepping out. Then it all becomes silent. AQI fades into recent memory. We blame Delhi and move on. But what if I told you that not Delhi, but there are certain Tier 2 cities in India that have air quality worse than the national capital? Hi, welcome back to another episode of Mission Planet A, a podcast that simplifies climate crisis. This is your host Rupa, and today I'll tell you some shocking insights into the AQI levels in India. If you're new here, then welcome to Mission Planet A. If you like our content, then subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on Instagram so you never miss out on an update. And you can also listen to us on Spotify. Now let's get right into the episode. An analysis by the Center for Research on Energy and Clean Air, CREA, has found that 44% of Indian cities face chronic air pollution, including Delhi. Now, based on the data from AQI website, at the time of making of this episode, we found that Berhampur, a Tier 2 Indian city's AQI level was at 408. And this data takes into account the PM 2.5 levels. Using satellite data, CREA studied 4,000 Indian cities and found that nearly 2,500 of them exceed the national annual PM 2.5 standard every single year. And this was observed from 2019 to 2024, except the year in 2020 when the entire world had great air quality. We've heard a lot about PM 2.5 particles being the main contributors for air pollution. But do we really know what do they mean? PM 2.5 particles, simply put, are fine inhalable particles that have diameters generally 2.5 micrometers or even lesser. To understand it better, think of it like this. Each strand in our head is around 70 micrometers in diameter. Now, which means that these PM 2.5 particles are 30 times smaller than each strand of your own hair. So they obviously miss the naked eye. Construction activities, vehicle exhausts, smokestacks or fires are some of the main contributors of PM 2.5. And the worst part, these particles are so small that they can directly settle in your lungs and enter your bloodstream. Now, to maintain a breathable AQI level, the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Climate Change introduced the National Clean Air Program (NCAP) in 2019. But in the last 7 years, CREA tells us that the NCAP has chosen easier route to fund pollution controlling activities. That simply means that they invested more in infrastructure and service related measures such as fixing bad roads and sorting to mechanical sweeping. Not just that, they spent some considerable effort into increasing the green cover and planning solid waste management. If you're thinking, hey, these are actually good solutions, then why am I finding it as a problem? Wait, let me break it to you. While most of these solutions really look good on paper, what it tells us is that NCAP is not taking care of cutting the pollution at the source itself. In fact, most of the cities are not even included in the NCAP list, which means that it takes care of only 4% of the entire pollution in the country. Not just that, since the inception of the program, 13,425 crores has been spent. And again, this spending is also skewed. Only easy solutions like managing bad roads, solid waste management and transport are taken care of, while majority of the problems are left unattended. A study done by the Climate Trends examined 11 major cities for their AQI levels, and all of them were found to be way above the safe limits for most of the decade from 2015 to 2025. Of course, it's a no-brainer that Delhi was the first on that list. But why is Delhi always polluted? The answer to that question lies in where Delhi is located. It is a part of the Indo-Gangetic Plain stretching across northern India, bordered by the Himalayas, the Peninsular Plateau, the Aravalli Hills, and the Brahmaputra Valley. So essentially, Delhi is like a bowl where air circulation is limited, and most of the times pollutants are trapped near the ground. Second on that list are roads, vehicles and concrete, which make the air above the ground warmer, trapping the pollutants. It's always bad during the winters, mainly because of this phenomenon called temperature inversion that happens during October and November. Normally, warm air rises above the ground, carrying the pollutants into the atmosphere. But during temperature inversion, the warm air traps the pollutants. It's mostly like a sandwich. There's cool air, then there is warm air, and then there is cool air above that, and the pollutants are trapped in between. If the mixing height during the summers is around 1000 meters, during the winters the mixing height drops to just 100 or 150 meters. Lower wind speeds also makes it difficult for the pollutants to move around or spread easily, causing thick smog. So Delhi faces this 6-dimensional pollution trap where the pollutants have no way of escaping out. To this, add vehicles, construction activities, thermal power plants, both coal and gas, and most famous of all, stubble burning. That is Delhi in a nutshell. Here at Mission Planet A, we check 2 websites for AQI data. One is the AQI website from India and the other is IQ Air, a Swiss website. At any given point of time, these 2 websites do have contrasting data on the AQI levels. But one thing that we found from the AQI website is that of the top 50 most polluted cities in the world, most of them are Indian cities. And worst of all, they are Tier 2 cities. So it's not just Delhi that is the most polluted city. Most of India is polluted. Looking at all of this, it's a natural assumption that the recently released budget should have allocated some considerable amount of funds for air pollution. But that's not quite what had happened. Air quality management that falls under the Ministry of Environment and Forestry in fact dipped by 2%, though the overall budget allocation for the ministry increased by around 10%. The problem primarily lies in understanding air pollution itself. Even when the economic survey was tabled in the parliament on 29th January before the budget was released, air pollution was seen as merely any other environmental issue and not as a serious health risk. The numbers are shocking. Globally, 7.9 million deaths were recorded in 2023 due to air pollution as given by the State of Global Air Pollution. Effects of air pollution do not come as an immediate illness but as long-term and chronic diseases. The World Bank estimates the toll in India to be around 1.67 million deaths due to air pollution in 2019, and that does not even include premature deaths. Not just as an environmental and health risk, air pollution is also a serious business concern. In a new report called the Business Case for Clean Air Unlocking Opportunities for India, it is said that India could unlock as much as $220 billion in economic gains by 2030. But only if air pollution is tackled correctly. PM 2.5 pollution cost $95 billion in annual economic losses in India through reduced productivity, higher healthcare costs, supply chain disruptions, and lower workforce participation. Well, this was the case of the 3rd largest economy in the world. One city solved the AQI problem and showed the world how it's supposed to be done. Beijing in China. In early 2010s, Beijing's air quality was worse than what Delhi has now. PM 2.5 level concentrations were around 80 micrograms per cubic meter, way above WHO guidelines. At times in winter, the PM 2.5 level concentrations were even above 100 micrograms per cubic meter. By 2013, Beijing took things under control. 10 years later, in 2023-24, Beijing's PM 2.5 level concentrations dropped sharply. Records show a dramatic reduction in heavily polluted days from 58 in 2013 to just 2 in 2024. But why are we comparing Beijing to Delhi? Because both these cities have so many things in common. Beijing's location is almost the same as that of Delhi. Yan Mountains to the north, Taihang Mountains in the west, same lower land bowl effect, which also means same temperature inversion and same mixing height drop in winters. On top of all of this, Beijing also receives sandstorms from the nearby Gobi Desert, reducing visibility to just 50 meters. Adding to all of this is vehicle exhausts. At a time, it was so worse that economic losses related to poor health in Beijing was estimated to be in dollars in Chinese rupees. Beijing faced the same exact issues as Delhi does now. So what did Beijing do that brought down the emissions? Simply planned a pollution control strategy and followed it to the T. They meticulously followed a step-by-step procedure. Step 1 was early identification in 2013. China introduced the National Ambient Air Quality Standard, which began real-time reporting of the PM 2.5 level concentrations. Now, this made them transparent and forced cities like Beijing to acknowledge the real scale of air pollution. The city then launched the Air Pollution Prevention and Control Action Plan in 2013 that legally backed air quality strategy targeting PM 2.5 reduction with measurable targets. But most importantly, it included 10 key provisions covering coal reduction, industrial restructuring, vehicle emission standards, and monitoring penalty systems. Step 2 was coal reduction and fuel switching. Household use of coal was phased out and shifted to natural gas and electricity for heating. Step 3 was stricter industrial standards, shutting down biggest polluters. Heavy polluters were identified and closed or relocated or even upgraded to cleaner tech. Notably, the Shougang steel plant was relocated, which significantly reduced the PM 2.5 concentrations. They then turned to transport. Stricter vehicular emission standards were introduced. Public transport, metro networks, and electric vehicles expanded. Metro lines exploded from just 54 kilometers of track in 2000 to nearly 1,000 kilometers of track as of today. Step 5 was tackling agricultural waste. Stubble burning was made economically a stupid option for farmers because they were encouraged to sell their agricultural waste to biomass plants with guaranteed prices. Beijing did not do all of this all alone. It integrated efforts with Tianjin and Hebei to reduce cross-border pollution with shared targets and coordinated enforcements. Where is Beijing's AQI now? Just over 100 or 150. Now, what can Delhi learn from all of this? Honestly, a lot. Starting with data transparency and public engagement. Not just that, but stricter vehicular emission guidelines, industrial restricting, and incentives for using public transport are some of the few tricks that worked very well for Beijing. Now, Beijing transformed from one of the world's polluted cities to meeting national air quality standards has to be one of the best air quality governance in recent history. The success was not built overnight. It spanned multi-year strategic frameworks, rigorous enforcement, scientific modeling, and monitoring with substantial investments in clean energy and transport. Can Delhi replicate something like this? Comment and let us know what do you think about it. And that brings us to the end of episode 16 of season 2 of Mission Planet E. We have 2 more episodes lined for the next month, releasing every alternate Saturday. So stay tuned to Mission Planet A, follow us on YouTube and also on Instagram. Until we meet again in the next episode, this is your host Rupa, signing off.